what does it mean to be a woodsman? There was one other topic here I wanted to throw in, and the reason I want to throw it in is because there's so much emphasis spent on it on YouTube and other channels and other things, and that is building a shelter. I see these elaborate shelters that, as a woodsman of 49 years, most of the shelters that I see people spend so much time on, I would find them to be very useless in the real world of being a woodsman. For one thing, it's just plain time. And so it kind of falls into this. Well, you know, what does it mean to be a woodsman? What it means to be a woodsman is knowing the proper shelter to build. And a lot of times it's not really a shelter at all. It's more of a place to hunker down in close to some fir trees or a thicket. Like right now, I'm in a cedar thicket, which is, it's really tight. You know, you can't hardly see through this stuff because you're only going to be there for the night, especially the first night. If you're hunkering down and man, you're in a really bad spot and you're going to be there for a week. Now spend a little more time. But on that first day, you know, you know you're in trouble. You've either gotten lost or something has happened. Whatever's happened to you, you need to know as a woodsman as to when is it time to start making a campsite. When is it time to start thinking about hunkering down? And a lot of times I think that people wait too long. Hypothermia is one of those things that will get you. It'll sneak up on you and smack you on the back of the head. Because what a lot of people don't understand is when you get cold, you're cold. But what happens is you start losing the ability to move your hands like you normally would. So building a fire at that point becomes extremely difficult. Being a part of being a woodsman is knowing when is it time to hunker down. And a lot of times I like to say that's about 2 hours before dark. And knowing when you're cold. If you are cold, it's time to build a fire. You don't, I can make it out. You don't do that. You build a fire. Get ready to spend the night because there's a good possibility at this point, if you're in trouble, you're not making it out. So what does it mean to be a woodsman? It means to know when to do the right thing. And in this situation, know when it's time to quit. Know when it's time to get yourself into a hunker. You ain't got time to build a shelter. You got time to gather some firewood, get yourself into a place where there's firewood if you're close by. I always look for a blowdown, but you got to get it's time now to get yourself a fire built. And I see so much emphasis on shelter building that two things happen in shelters. When you're building a shelter like you see on YouTube, number one, it makes you tired. Number two, it makes you wet. You're either getting wet from what you're gathering or you're sweating. And you don't want to be sweating in January up here. It can be 0. And if you're moving around gathering a bunch of stuff to build a shelter, you will be sweating. That is what's going to get you. Because once you sit down, that sweat's going to turn cold, and now you're going to be cold. So don't put so much emphasis on building a shelter as much as finding a semi-shelter that's already built. Whether it could be a blowdown or it could be a brush pile. Something that you can get behind and get a big bonfire going. That's how you're going to make the first night. You're not going to make the first night if you're cold. You've got to have a fire built. You don't got to have a shelter. I know that goes against 90% of what you've seen, heard, and probably been taught. But bigger emphasis will be on getting a fire built. And it takes an enormous amount of wood to last an entire night. So to me, that's part of being a woodsman. Knowing when and where to hunker down. Knowing the time. I don't want to leave you with no shelter at all. So what I will do in the very near future, I will put a video together on what I consider to be your first night shelter. It will be very simple. It will be more that is natural materials already in place. It should take no more than 5 at 10 minutes at the most to build a shelter, if even that much time. That's why I say it's not really about building a shelter the first night, because it's more about getting a fire built. I will see you on the next one.